I remember driving to pick up my husband from the airport in a major city, and my infant son was in his car seat in the back seat. And I'd done this drive other times and hadn't really thought much about it. But I remember on this particular drive, I had this overwhelming feeling of responsibility and even panic just wash over me as I realized that if something happened to us on the drive, it would impact my son. And so, in a way that I hadn't been frightened just for my own welfare, all of a sudden I was feeling this fear for my child. And while there's this right and good desire to protect our children, sometimes that can just extend into an anxiety or a worry as we realize that we're not in control of all the things, and we can't always protect our children. Before becoming a mom, I really wouldn't have described myself as a fearful or an anxious person. But having children, it just seemed like all these different fears and anxieties rose to the surface. So, as with that driving example, there were other situations that just provoked anxiety inside of me. My husband was studying to be a pastor, and I was asking questions. Would we be able to live on a pastor's salary? How would the Lord really provide for us? What would that look like? Later, when three of our children were diagnosed with a serious genetic condition, I had all kinds of fears and questions that came to the surface about what this would mean for my children's future, and really what would this mean for our whole family. And maybe you have some of your own fears, worries, anxieties that motherhood has surfaced for you. Often behind our fears, really, I think, is this realization that as much as we want to be in control or sometimes think that we are, at the end of the day, ultimately, we're not in control. We're not in charge. And I think that's what really scares us. But God's sovereignty speaks to that reality. When we acknowledge that we're not in control, that's actually a path that offers us the freedom to recognize and acknowledge that God is in complete control. And He's not just in control over a few things, He's in control over everything. When life feels like it's spinning out of control, we remind ourselves that our Heavenly Father is still on His throne. He's still reigning. And ultimately, that reality means so much more, even than having our questions answered.